Well, yes, friends, once again, it's that time in the program to pay tribute to an interview I got to do last year in 2024. However, because of the fact that my voice was not there because of sickness last year, we never got to air it or do a way back haunted hayride last year. But with that mentioned, we're going to pay tribute to an interview with the star of the Little House on the Prairie series, who played the nasty Nellie Olson, none other than Alison Arngrim, whose mother was also the legendary Norma McMillan, who voiced the friendly ghost and lovable ghost Casper for many years back in the 60s. With that mentioned, it brings me great honor to invite y'all to sit back and relax as we share this interview from last Halloween. Following this interview, we will hear an all-time classic by Norma McMillan, and it's going to be called Boo Boo the Beautiful Ghost, and that, of course, was on the 1961 album Casper the Friendly Ghost. With that, here's my good friend, Alison Arngrim.
Well, hi!
Well, how are you today?
Well, I'm very good.
So, let's go back. Your family was very well-known Hollywood legends.
Indeed.
Would you share who your family was?
Well, it's very crazy. My parents, I was born in New York, and my parents were in the theater in Vancouver. In fact, my father founded a thing called the Totem Theater in British Columbia.
Okay.
My mother got into voiceover. They'd done radio and all that sort of thing that people did in the 50s. And so they were in radio, and so when they got to New York, my mother started going out for voiceover jobs. And wow, she did really well. And she wound up becoming the voice of Casper the Friendly Ghost. She's the voice of Gumby. She's Sweet Polly Purebred, Underdog's girlfriend, as well as Davy of Davy and Goliath.
Exactly. So how did she get a hold of that Casper character? I understand she wasn't the original, was she?
No, because it started back in the 30s with the serials they would show during the movies.
Okay.
She came in the early 60s because she had been on a comedy album, and for those of us old enough to remember, there was an album called The First Family. It was all about JFK, all about John Kennedy and Jackie, and the Fell family, and Caroline and John, and it was one of the first comedy albums to really mock a seated president, and they were he was so popular, record companies said, I don't think we can put that out. Of course they did, and it was the biggest selling album in history at that point.
Yes.
And my mother was the voice of the children, Caroline and John.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a hit that she got calls to come be everybody. So she was in so many cartoons. I mean, she was in those four famous ones, Underdog and all that, but she was in other cartoons as well. It's just, Saturday morning TV when I was a child, I would turn it on, and half the things I was watching were my mother's voice. And she'd just pop up as a character in another cartoon. It was amazing.
Yeah. So would she have worked with the legendary Mel Blanc?
She did not get to meet Mel Blanc that I know of. She worked with Dawes Butler.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, she worked with Wally Cox, the actor Wally Cox, who was the voice of Underdog.
Yes.
And she worked with several of the big. She knew June Foray. What delighted, of course, me as a kid was she was friends with the woman who did the voice of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Okay, Billy May Richard.
Billy May. So she would get a Christmas card.
Okay.
And I was like about 7 or 8. My mother would say, this Christmas card is from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Exactly.
And she was always willing to do the voices to impress my friends. I was, I'd go to kindergarten, first, second grade, she'd come to school with me, walk me to school, and I would have told the kids, and they often do, you don't believe such a thing. In the second grade, some kid says, my mother's Casper. Sure she is. I said, I explained, and some kids don't understand. I knew you went to a studio and you recorded a voice. I said, no, they record the voices, and some of the smarter Hollywood kids went, oh, right, yeah, the voice. She came down, they said, can you do the Casper voice? And she said, yes. She'd stand there in the schoolyard. She'd Casper and Gumby, and years later, was in my 20s, all these guys who were like college age and big animation collectors were like, oh my God, your mother is Gumby. Your mother is Sweet Polly Purebred. And they all had to meet her. And they threw a party. They actually threw a party for her.
Yes.
So she would come over to their house.
I see, yes. And you were also well known as well as Nellie Olson. Now, Little House on the Prairie also had some Halloween episodes I'm surprised about.
Well, that's the thing. Most TV shows, they'll have a Christmas episode or two. Mm-hmm. Very few shows, back in the day especially, did Halloween episodes.
Exactly.
But we had Michael Landon producing it, and Michael Landon's birthday is October 31st.
Okay.
He was literally born on Halloween. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, Alison. No, I didn't.
He loved Halloween. He loved pranks and scares. And remember, Michael Landon's first movie that gave him his start, that got him famous, was I Was a Teenage Werewolf.
Oh, yes, it was, yes.
He was obsessed with werewolves and Halloween and vampires and the whole thing. So, oh my God, we must have had 3 or 4 or more Halloween episodes.
That's
of
right.
Little House, which like never happened.
And so tell us about the werewolf episode, if you remember anything about it.
Werewolf of Walnut Grove, with the Creeper of Walnut Grove, we had Halloween Dream, we had what, the one where at the end where we got the Headless Horseman.
Yes.
We could not leave Halloween alone on that show. It was great.
It's amazing.
And Halloween, although, I mean, for historical accuracy, yes, Halloween was celebrated in the 1800s, but not as much.
Not as much.
I mean, it was,
exactly.
it kind of came over from the Irish, and were really into it, and the Irish and the British, so there were people more on the East Coast, but probably in the 1870s in the middle of the country that it wasn't really catching on yet. But we decided that Walnut Grove knew all about Halloween. It's hardly even mentioned in the books, but oh boy, we sure did it in the show.
For sure, yes. Now, what are some of your memories of Liberace? I know the last time you and I spoke, you had told me about trick-or-treating at his place.
Absolutely true. So my dad got a job working as a personal manager. Big gig was he got work at Seymour Heller and Associates. And if you ever saw the movie they made about Liberace, Seymour Heller was played in that Liberace movie by Dan Aykroyd, and it was an excellent performance. That is exactly who Seymour was like. And Seymour Heller, my dad, was Western Regional Vice President of something. And so Seymour said, I'll take care of Liberace in Las Vegas, but you get to take care of him here in L.A. So we actually rented a house around the corner down the street from Liberace, and I got to go see Liberace shows as a child, which is hilarious. But it meant at Halloween, all the kids knew it was Liberace's house. And the young kids, Liberace was over there. So I said, well, we got to go trick-or-treating at Liberace's. I mean, so we'd all band in, we'd go up the huge driveway.
Yes.
Now, Liberace would, of course, be out at a party on Halloween, but he had a butler. He had servants, he had staff, and this butler would literally come to the door with a silver tray with these little pumpkins, and they were plastic pumpkins. They were black on one side, orange on the other. They were lovely little plastic pumpkins filled with jelly beans, and I mean, like, really good. It was like totally high-end candy. No cheap candy at Liberace.
Yes,
and we never got them anywhere else. We're like, ooh, gotta go get the pumpkins with the jelly beans. But it was amazing to go to Liberace's, have the butler come up with the candy, but to be able to tell your friends at school, like, trick-or-treating at Liberace's, that was less than that.
Exactly. So was there anything that happened on the set of, I know I'm jiggling between the two subjects, but was there any scary things that happened to the set or on the set of Little House?
Well, when we would go up to Sonora to shoot the scenes, and anytime you saw a forest or a big river, we went to Northern California, location for a couple of weeks, and shot all the river scenes. And there was this little teeny town, it was a Twain Hart or something cute, that we would stay in, this tiny hotel in this tiny little town, and so everyone would find ways to amuse themselves. I remember there was like a roller rink, but there was an old cemetery.
Okay.
And you bet, come Halloween, we were shooting up there one time, and Michael and a couple guys in the crew, they got bed sheets and they hid behind the tombstones, and the parents convinced Melissa and the kids to go visit go see the cemetery on Halloween, I dare you. And sure enough, Michael and his friends were hiding behind the tombstones and jumping up and going, woo! They did it. It scared the wits out of them.
Exactly.
He also told Melissa Gilbert, when she was still quite young, first year show, that there was a place behind one of the buildings, and says, don't go in there because there's a rhino gator that was a cross between a rhinoceros and an alligator that would eat you. And she believes this.
I see.
And he was really little. And it's like, the rhino gator, yes, those are back there, kids. The rhino gator will get you. And he was always telling to look out for the rhino gator. It was, any kind of way, stories, pranks, scaring small children, dressing up. Oh my God.
He loved it all.
He was mad for that. And then I grew up loving Halloween. I grew up in Hollywood. I also always liked the villains. I liked the scary people.
Yes, exactly.
So when I was really little, and other little girls were dressing up as the Blue Fairy or a princess, I thought, let's see, one year I was the devil and Frankenstein's monster. I was a vampire a couple of times. I always got hold of the scary costume.
Okay.
I remember I had a really good scary costume one year, and a group of us got to the door, and the poor lady who was giving out the candy, she thought it'd be great to have her very small toddler child take the bowl of candy to the door. And the kid thought it was great too, but this kid was way too little. She gave her the bowl of candy and said, here, honey, go to the door, trick-or-treaters. And the kid took one look, screamed, dropped the candy, and ran. We're like, well, our costumes are good. That's good to know.
That's, they're good.
We had to take off our masks and come in and show the kid we weren't actually monsters. But no, I always went for the scary costume. It was great.
Yes, and even you played the scariest character in the old TV shows too, so there you go. A couple more questions, but what is your thoughts on your mother's character of Casper and her version of it?
It was great because, as she said, well, he's a friendly ghost. I mean, in the very, very, very first cartoon from the 1930s, they actually do make it plain, and it's kind of a morbid plot, that a little boy did die and become Casper. And so, that's weird, but that is literally in the 1930s, because you remember cartoons back then, they weren't for children. They showed them in the movie theaters for grown-up movies. So it's a kind of a dark story, but this kid who dies becomes a happy ghost. And I'm like, that's weird. All right. But by the 60s, it was Casper had been a ghost for so long, nobody cared. He was just Casper. My mother really got into the character. He was very innocent and friendly, and he was a misfit. He was an outcast. The other ghosts were supposed to scare people, and Casper was bad at it.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be friendly. And then that, of course, then you had the character of Wendy, the Good Witch.
Exactly,
who couldn't scare anybody. Nightmare the Horse, and then Spooky. She did all of them, because that's the funny thing. She's Nightmare the Horse, she's Wendy the Witch, she's Spooky, the little other little ghost. With a lot of these cartoons, you had two people. You had her and a guy, and so there's a guy. He's all three of the ghostly trio, and pretty much everybody else. Okay. And she's everybody. So there's a Casper album, and you can get this. You can get this for Halloween. You totally get this online.
Yes.
There's a Casper album. You can download it, the file. You can buy the CD, whatever. And it's a musical album from the early 60s, and it's just my mom and one guy in the studio, and it's like a huge musical extravaganza with a cast of thousands.
Amazing.
My mother has a number called Boo Boo the Beautiful Ghost, where she does kind of a Marilyn Monroe ghost. And it's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers, but it's still out there. And she talked about that we'd ask her to do a cartoon, and they'd say, well, it's a raccoon. How do you do a raccoon? As opposed to, say, a skunk. If she would just say, look, is it a little boy raccoon? Is it a little girl raccoon? Is it a sweet little boy? Is he a tough little boy? And try to get, and hence you get Casper and Spooky and Wendy and all of these characters all done in the same day.
And how long did it roughly take to make cartoons back then, or do you know?
They banged them out pretty quick, and the animation and the voicing seem to be separate. I don't know, over the years they've changed the technology as to whether they're drawing it first and then matching the voices, but they don't really match the voice to the screen. I think they record first, but I think my mother certainly did. She would go into the studio with Wally Cox for Underdog and a guy for Casper, and they would record several episodes at a go. Exactly. And they might do several in a day, and then come back a few weeks later and do a few more. They would really just bang them out because, they had the scripts right there, and they knew the characters well, and so they could really get through them very quickly. If you have someone who really knows what they're doing, which they did.
For sure.
I went to the studio a couple of times. I did go to the studio with her.
Oh, did you?
A couple of times for Underdog. I met Wally Cox when I was a little girl. I liked him very much. I loved Wally Cox.
Yes.
And he was also a great writer. He actually wrote a children's book right before he died. Did not get enough press and should have been made into a movie, and it's a great book. So, The 10th Life of Osiris Oaks, about an Egyptian cat that comes back from the dead.
Talking about Halloween.
Yeah, Wally Cox is brilliant, very eccentric, and I remember going to the studio with her for things. My mother and I once auditioned together for the voice of a doll. We didn't get it, which is too bad because we were brilliant. We were really good. We just didn't get it. Was a doll that had finger puppets was the thing.
Oh, wow.
So the doll talked. They pulled the string, the doll talked, but when you used a different puppet, the doll spoke in different voices. Amazing. So that's why they were bringing in people like my mother, and they even had me audition because they wanted to have multiple voices for the
multiple voices for the doll. So, how do you spend Halloween nowadays?
Even if, nothing's happening, I will carve a pumpkin. I will not go Halloween without going to the supermarket, getting a pumpkin, getting out the knife by hand, carve a pumpkin. My husband carves too. Yeah. Sometimes you usually make the classic scary face with big teeth. My father taught me how to do it as a kid. But sometimes I'll get, very artistic and make, very sort of surreal faces and all kinds of, or make a very happy pumpkin.
Amazing.
I've done all sorts. Sometimes I make them very scary. I do very different designs. And I do it very old-fashioned. I scrape that. People get artificial pumpkins now. I'm like,
yes, sadly.
I get a real pumpkin. Yes. I scrape it out. Every couple of years, I try to roast the seeds. Everybody says, the pumpkin seeds are so good.
Okay.
I try to slow roast them in the oven. It is a lot of work, and they never come out right.
Yes.
They're always a little too dry. You break them open. It's just so much work to get them out of the shells, and they don't taste like the ones from the store. So
exactly.
I can't recommend roasting the seeds unless you really have that kind of time. I've made pie out of pumpkins I've carved for jack-o'-lantern. Not that great, because generally when they make pumpkin pie, what they really use are those little tiny pumpkins or sugar pumpkins,
the pie pumpkins,
or they often use butternut squash. Your pumpkin pie is really more butternut squash pie. So actual carving pumpkins don't taste very good, so that's good for that. But I would always try to make stuff out of them. Trick, if you are putting it on your porch for a long time, spray it with Lysol. Dry it with paper towels and then spray the whole thing with Lysol. And
really?
This kills the immediate bacteria, so it won't mold for several days.
Oh, wow. I never knew that. Okay.
You can't eat it after that. Do not eat it.
No, exactly. That's for sure.
But it will keep it from getting moldy, because they'll do it quite fast out here. I have now started using the non-flammable artificial lights in my pumpkins so they aren't a fire hazard.
Yes.
But I used to do it the old way, the big old lit flaming candle.
Exactly.
It's insanely dangerous, and I don't know how we all did that. I trick-or-treated until I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But I had some epic costumes. I've always handed out candy. I always have the good candy. Now, I live on the street. We're on a hill. People don't like to come up here. So sometimes we'll just pack it up and go to a friend's house, because her street gets way more trick-or-treaters. And we bring boxes of candy and see to it. I never hand out anything less than like a full Snickers. Yeah,
Exactly.
we get none of that fun size. We'll have some small candy, but we go and get boxes of the full-size candy bars, Milky Way, Three Musketeers, the whole bit. And so when they all come to this one house, our friend's house, we're like, look, we've got bags and bags of the small stuff, the sweet tarts, the very small candies, but we have full-size candy bars of like Milky Way and Snickers. We are not fooling around on Halloween. We don't tip anybody at Halloween. You got to get the good candy.
Exactly. Well, with that, Alison, I want to thank you for being on the Halloween show, and I hope to do it again with you sometime soon. Have a good day now. Take care.
All right. Happy Halloween. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
I wonder if you'd like to take a short side trip to Ghostly Wood. Ghostly Wood? What's that?
A forest, silly.
I'm afraid you're wrong. Ghostly Wood is our version of Hollywood. Ghosts like movies, too, just like human boys and girls do. And we have our own studios and our own cameras and even our own movie stars. And you're going to meet a real movie star.
Yeah,
Who is it?
Elizabeth Taylor.
Anna Lovely.
Sandra Dee.
Who
Who?
is
Tell
it?
me.
Who is it,
Who?
No, this is a ghost movie star. Shh. Here we are at the studio and they're filming. Let's wait till the number is over.
Okay, boys, roll 'em.
I'm Boo Boo, the beautiful ghost. And my friends all say I'm the most. I have big round eyes and two lips so sweet. I use liquid bleach with chlorinol in every sheet. I'm Boo Boo, the beautiful ghost.
She's the toast of each ghost, coast to coast.
And when I haunt him, I really taunt him.
Boo Boo, the beautiful ghost. Boo Boo, the beautiful ghost.
I have big round eyes and two lips so sweet. I use liquid bleach with chlorinol in every sheet. And when I haunt him, I really taunt him.
Boo Boo, the beautiful ghost. Boo Boo, the beautiful ghost.
That was wonderful, Boo Boo. Come on over and meet all the boys and girls.
Casper, darling, how nice to see you. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Ghostly Wood.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about your new movie, Boo Boo?
Of course, darling. It's called Ghost Riders, a Ghostern. I guess people would call it a Western.
Oh boy. I love westerns.
I'm glad. I hope you'll enjoy your visit to Ghostland. Casper, darling, I'm afraid I have to run. We're filming, you know.